What's up, enthusiasts? Today I've got another commonly asked question that needs an answer. This time around, the question is, how do I start my own Nerf group? It seems simple at face value, but there are things you can do to make your group more successful. Now, I may play in a lot of games, but I don't organize them, which means I could only give you an outsider's perspective. So to help with this, I've brought in Josh from Bay Area Nerf, who also runs the burn games you see footage of so often on this channel. He's going to go over the basics of what you can do for starting your own Nerf group.
Hey guys, Josh here, and today I just wanted to talk to you about the basics of running your own Nerf event. And usually what that comes down to is I like to look at the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. But we're going to reorder them a little bit. So we like to start out with what. And what do you want to do? Do you want to run an HVZ event? Do you want to just have a mod day? Do you want a PvP type game? Anything that you want to do, you have to know what you want to do before going forward. So top of the list is definitely what you want to do. Next up, we're going to go with why. And why you want to do it sounds pretty simple. You probably, like us, enjoy Nerf. But why you want to do this as opposed to something else is something that you want to actually kind of look into. So one of the examples that I tell people is I've asked people before why they want to run an event as opposed to just playing an event. And I've heard people, range from because I really enjoy Nerf, and that's a great answer. Because you want more games, that's also a great answer. But if you want to experience Nerf for the first time and there's a game going on, why go through all the trouble of running an event when you haven't been to one yet? I understand a lot of people don't have things in their area and whatnot, but knowing why, there's not really a wrong answer, but knowing why you are doing it is a good idea before going forward. From there, we're going to spiral into the where you're going to do it, because that's one of the biggest questions we get is, hey, where can we play? I have no idea where you can play, but finding out where you're going to be able to host your event is something that is integral before you go forward any further. And that kind of rolls off of what you want to do. So if you want to do an HVZ event, probably like an indoor gymnasium isn't going to be great. So you have to know what you're doing in order to figure out where you're going to do it and what else you need at the location that you're going to be there. So, restrooms and other facilities that might need to be provided. If you have cover that you need to put up, does your cover stake into the ground? You probably don't want to be using blacktop if that's the case. So where is very, very important. After that, it's just sort of the who, which is who are you going to play with? Are you looking for small games with maybe just you and your friends? Are you looking for a ton of people to do a giant multi-day HVZ event? Because those are going to be very different. Figuring out who your core audience is, how you're going to appeal to them and get them to your games is integral before you go out and host a game and find out that sadly no one has shown up. After that, when? When is pretty easy. It's just figuring out when works for you and the most amount of people. And that's fairly simple and self-explanatory. Really, as far as the 5 W's go, a lot of people will say, I always hear who, what, when, where, why, how. And how is great, but how is everything else? How is how you're going to run the games? How is what the rules are going to be like? What everything else that goes into the game is going to be? So I can't tell you that because depending on what your event is, it's going to vary drastically depending on who you are, what you're doing, where you're doing it, and all of the questions that we just answered. So think about those 5 W's before you get into the how you're going to run the event. I know that rules building and creating stuff like that is a lot of fun and is a lot of the meat and potatoes after you've figured out what you're doing, why you're doing it, where you're doing it, who you're doing it with, and when it's going on. So that's it, guys. Those are just my quick sort of tips for starting out an event. If you want more details, feel free to ask. There's a lot more subtlety to what you're doing and depending on what you're doing and how to do it. So that's it for today, guys. Back to you.
A big thanks to Josh for taking the time to talk about the basic points of starting your own group. I do want to mention that he has an entire series about the details of hosting games on his channel over at Bay Area Nerf called War Room. So if you're looking for more, there'll be a link to that in the info so you can check that out. If you have any questions you think would be good to have answered in a video, feel free to leave them in the comments and upvote the other questions that you may like. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have fun flinging foam, and I'll see you next time.